ready. Welcome to the 5:30 p.m. May 11th CRA meeting. We do have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, the Republic, the nation, God, indivisible. Clerk, would you read the rules to speak, please?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card and present it to the clerk prior to the item being introduced. Sign-up cards are available on the table in the council chamber. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. No sign-up card is required. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all agenda items.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the CRA minutes of April 13th? I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Member Aker? Absent. Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Chairman Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Chair Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Ball?
Yes. And that motion passes unanimously. City Manager?
Yes, sir. We're on, good evening, and we're on agenda item 7A. This is the parking in the downtown area. This agenda item was carried over from the April 13th, 2021 CRA meeting due to insufficient time for the agency to discuss and provide direction on the item. The CPH consultant's PowerPoint presentation to the CRA for the 2017 parking analysis has been added to this agenda item from the last month's agenda item. And what staff's asking the CRA is to discuss and provide direction on parking in the downtown area.
All right, thank you. We certainly have talked about parking in the past. We've had studies done, which I may in a moment, City Manager, ask for a summary. And I will just say from our, because we always talk about parking, we always feel like we need parking, but then when we have a study, it says during a Friday Night Lights deal down there, we used, what was that percentage, sir?
40.
We used 40% of the parking during a big event. So it becomes very difficult for myself to jump up and down and say, we've got to do something about parking. I get it. I'd like to have our parking in some cases at different places. But I will say, I'll just add to this, as I discussed with City Manager the other day, if you put a map of Walmart over top of our old downtown, the distance you walk from most parking lot spots in the Walmart parking lot to the front door is not more than what you would walk to go to almost any place in downtown. So that's kind of my preface to this, that we have certainly had meetings on this. We've had presentations on this. We even had a study done on this. And I guess what I'm saying is I certainly am looking to see names pop up, and I see them coming up now, and hear what you have to say. But I think that what we're going to say has probably been said and been addressed in the study. Member Jordan.
Oh, that was from a previous thing, but I will say something. I'm actually in complete agreement with you. I always tend to think about when we go over to see a Magic game or something like that, how far we don't mind walking,
Good point.
you know, to see the Magic or see one of our favorite teams. But for some reason, in the city, we want to be parked right next to whatever the venue is. My only suggestion is, because we do have a lot of parking, is to maybe have staff to go look at some of the church parking lots and other areas that don't use their parking spaces majority of the time. And maybe we can come up with some kind of agreement that during special events or even, during events that we can use their parking lot. And I think they'll be pretty fine with that. So that's my only suggestion.
Very good. I appreciate that. I would add that we also talked about different amenities, or at least additions, because I know we have increased the parking, the lights in the walking parking areas, because I, for one, and I believe most everybody up here had the same concern that it was too dark. I think we've remedied that. So with that, Member Stokel.
Yep. Just to touch on that, I feel like I don't think we're there quite yet right now. I just want it to stay on our radar, and I was talking to the city manager about this in our meeting, is I think what will make me feel better, and I probably will just try to meet with staff and get a better understanding, is having some type of vision for our downtown. I think that's where I keep bringing it up because I'm a little frustrated. We talk about, yeah, when we know the Magic game or Walmart, we know we're going to walk through that downtown area. We don't want to walk through vacant buildings and empty shops. It's just not fun. And so I feel like as we start growing and getting our buildings at capacity and a vibrant downtown, which is my hope, is to have that parking plan out there for like, whether it's going to be this old city hall essentially down the road. I just would feel better if we had that vision. And so I don't think we're there quite yet, but I want to do some stuff kind of leading up to it when we're there.
Thank you. Member Ball.
Well, first, I'm in favor of City Hall remaining downtown as a CRA member, so I'll get that, sidetracked comment in, on the record, because I think that the idea of replacing City Hall and putting City Hall somewhere else, and then this becomes our parking solution, is got unintended consequences for the economic health of downtown. So I favor keeping City Hall downtown.
Okay.
But I feel like obligated to help carry the torch for Member Aker and myself. I know that Member Aker feels strongly about parking, and I can tell you I do too. But I agree with Member Stokel that I think at this point it's a planning activity. And I can tell you that Titusville Playhouse is going to have event stresses on the parking. We're looking at plans we can't fully disclose at this present time, but I think everybody's aware that Titusville Playhouse is expecting to add additional venues, at least one and maybe multiple venues that may be operating at the same time. So parking, we're probably going to see stress events on our parking. And so, those will become more frequent and still may be hard to justify a parking garage just for the days when those events aren't going on. But I think I mentioned earlier that I feel that, and again, this is piling on to what Member Stokel said, that our downtown master plan is maybe a little stale when it comes to parking, visiting. I know in the past there's been a couple of locations for future structured parking, and that may all be in play right now. So I would concur that it's a planning activity right now, but it's not one that we tend to do these parking studies, and they're snapshot studies. They look at a moment in time, and conditions are changing rapidly in the downtown. Again, I favor some emphasis on development to the west of Hopkins. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen organically, whether we, intend it to happen or not. And so where the parking options are is something we're going to have to keep in play. And there certainly are multiple options that these studies have identified before you get to the capital cost of a parking garage. That's all.
And make it clear that I feel like we're saying the same thing. All I'm saying is that right now, after the studies that we've done and the discussions that we've had and the finances that we're willing to look at, I think that what we do is, as we're saying, keep it on I wouldn't even say a back burner, keep it on a front burner at simmer, and don't lose any of the data or studies you have, and be prepared as this changes. As I say, read and react, and be ready to read and react. Don't get caught with your eyes closed.
I agree that the downtown master plan, it should be a living document. It's not something you do once and you park it away on a shelf and then you come back and update it once every 7 years or 5 years. I think we just have too much dynamically happening. And so maybe there's elements of the master plan that need to be revisited annually. Maybe that's too frequent. But parking is certainly one of those characteristics that should be frequently revisited.
I agree. Member Jordan?
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation that both of you all had, and I'm in total agreement with it. But I speaking of visioning, I really believe that we made a huge mistake when we took the parking off of US 1. In my mind, if you want to see activity, most time people will stop when they see cars parked in front of stores instead of, I know someone say, well, we want this walking traffic, but you just, when you're speeding down US 1, you just can't see or slow down to see some of the stuff that's going on. And I certainly would ask, and I know it's not our street, it's a state street, but I think we should look at what it would take for us to restore the parking that we had on US so that we could be more of a vibrant place. If downtown is going to be vibrant, then it needs to see activity and it can't be static. To me, right now, walking traffic, in my mind, is static as it relates to what you see, the visual. So to me, having cars parked, what do you call it, at an angle down US 1 would be better. Even though we can only do it on one side, it certainly would be better than what we have today. Parking in the back just doesn't do it for me, to be honest.
Member Nelson?
And I agree, Robert, that would also slow the traffic down going through that downtown area. People would slow down, didn't want to see what's going on. They just couldn't fly through the way we are now. One of the areas we might try looking at is St. Gabriel's, because that's real close to the Playhouse. And I think they're supporters of the Playhouse. So that's an option that we ought to look at, because they're half a block away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Member Robinson?
Yes, parking may become at one time in our future an issue, but along with parking becoming an issue, the design of the thoroughfare through Titusville is going to become an issue, because that's one of our crippling problems, is that downtown is divided. There's US 1 and Washington runs right through. So when you start looking at parking, you got to consider that you got a state managed road that goes right through the center of downtown. It's going to be a lot of issues. You're going to have to move a lot of stuff, so that, if you want to do a study, where you're going to, first off, as we move in the direction of City Hall being relocated, and this becoming a vacant lot, maybe this can be some parking and go that route. But a lot of things is going to have to be redesigned if Titusville, the dream of Titusville downtown, is going to become a boosting place like Cocoa and Milburn.
Perfect, I agree. Member Nelson, are you back?
I'm back. I just want to point out something for one, I think Paul remembers it. We took some of the county functions and went down to Viera, and what did it do to our downtown area? All those people went to Viera, all the employees that were in the courthouse here. Yep. We were going downtown to have lunch, we were going downtown to have dinner, and all of a sudden, we're gone. So if we're talking about moving this facility, what's the effect on the downtown area? So I don't have an answer. That's just something I think we ought to think about.
Well, that's certainly a question, because I believe whether it's during our time or the next council's time, that's going to be a lot of discussion and debate about all that. And I think that's a very good historical perspective. I also have to agree with Member Jordan's words that I think we've said before, that until you slow them down, until you give them a reason to stop, they're going to keep on going by. And I wasn't here for the decision to do what happened, but there was a time when it was a slow moving downtown with cars pulling in at the front and backing out, and this was different. Not complaining about what anybody else did. I'm just saying I thought I think it's worthy of thinking down the road. With that, are there any cards?
Yes, sir, you have one card, Spring Francor.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hello. Spring Francor, licensed massage therapist with the Wellspring Therapeutic Massage, 11 Main Street, Unit 3. I've been working downtown for about 6 years now, and I'm glad to hear the conversation about parking. So also with the US 1 issue going through downtown, my first address I had was 315 South Washington, and the street traffic is always too fast. And you're right, nobody stops to see what's going on. Doesn't matter that there are people sitting there, they still blow through at 50 miles an hour. And some people just have no idea what's going on downtown. So I would love to see the angle parking put back. It will slow everything down. It would make it safer for working downtown because they come through so fast. They don't even know that it's 30 miles an hour because they want to get home. They just go through. So there's that. And the other thing I'd like for us all to consider with the parking issue, I understand 40% is not a screaming reason to get something done. But a lot of the parking issues we do have right now are caused from employees parking close to where they work. I'm one of them. I don't know where else to park except right by where my office is. And that happens to be by other businesses. Like I'm right next door to Badcock. So I'm taking a parking spot potentially from a Badcock customer coming in and out. I get one customer at a time. So I'm low impact, but my parking my car in that lot all day long, sometimes for 8-10 hours, could potentially be harming the other businesses as far as parking is concerned. So what I'd like to see us do is determine an employee parking lot. Just for the employees, because we stick our car in a spot and it bakes in the sun anyway, so it might as well be out in some unused field. And we're all sitting baking in the sun. And then the shade parking that we do have can be for the customers who are coming downtown to patronize the businesses. So that's my 2 cents.
Very good. And any questions for her before she sits down? No? Thank you so much. Some good thoughts, especially the employee parking part. I'm not down there to see that all the time. Member Ball.
Yeah, I just want to come back for a moment and revisit, since we're talking about City Hall in the context of potential parking solutions. And Member Nelson is absolutely right. I would like to be sure that the CRA is engaged in the conversation about what happens to City Hall. I know there's a committee. I know this is going to come up at council. I know the city manager is going to get a lot of inputs from a lot of places, but there's a unique perspective that I think the CRA and the development planner for the CRA can bring to that discussion. So among other things, I would ask, and maybe the planner knows the answer to this now, but how many cities in Brevard County have redone their city hall, brand new city hall, expanded city halls, and kept them in their downtowns? And how many have not?
I'm only aware of 2 that had a downtown. I know Cocoa and Melbourne. And they rebuilt new city halls that were still kept in the downtown area. I know Palm Bay's new city hall was put in the central location of their enormous area. So, and they don't have a downtown, so.
Right. There's a lot of property that the city has currently as an asset that can be put into play for how to consolidate functions downtown. So I realize it's just one perspective, and but the CRA as a collective body has a stake in this, and there will be an economic impact if the government center moves away from the downtown. We saw that in the early days of the CRA's formation and the planning for the master plan. Governmental uses, functions, and employment was a big factor in the early on driver to growth in the downtown. Thank you.
And down the road, I look forward to hearing what the studies say. I look forward to hearing what, as you said, the multiple people say. I think that's going to be a workshop. That's what that's going to be. That's going to be 3 workshops. But with that said, I'd like to move to kind of finalize what we're going to ask the, excuse me, are there any more cards? Okay, thank you. we're being tasked with provide direction for the CRA on parking in downtown. I think we could go a couple of ways. One of them would be to simply say, keep it on the front burner and don't add anything right now. We've got the studies. We've seen the studies. We've had them presented to us in the past. Dr. Aker, I don't think one. Member Robinson for another. I don't think we're on the council or on this group when we had those studies presented to us, but and maybe we can redo that. Maybe see, because I remember seeing the pictures of the downtown on Friday night when we were as full as we could be, and I was surprised at how much parking was around. That doesn't necessarily solve the problems we have when you want to go someplace. I think if we were really going to get serious about solving that, I too would like to see us park in front again. But that's a whole nother ballgame. So just a couple inputs on what we'd like to get advisement, or do we just want to let it float? And like Member Stokel said, just hold on to it right now until we get further.
I think we have enough direction, but just not to rain on your parade about changing the parking on US 1, but it is a state maintained road, and it was their
Well, I
decision
appreciate
to
that.
change
That's
that.
important that you say that. And again, I wasn't around when they decided to change it. I would still agree that I think it would have been better, and some of the things we talked about now would have probably saved us 4 or 5 minutes because we can't fix it. But with that said, you have enough direction. Do we need to vote on something?
No, sir.
Okay,
We have it.
thank you very much. And we'll go to number 2.
On to item 7B. This is the, from your last meeting, your discussion. On July 17th, the CRA recommended the award of a contract to the City Council to Taylor Engineering of Jacksonville, Florida, to provide a feasibility study for a Spaceview Pier Park connection. On February 9th, 2021, Taylor Engineering presented the concept for the project. Following the presentation, staff asked Taylor Engineering to prepare a proposal to complete the final design of the project. It's recommended that the Community Redevelopment Agency recommend to City Council the approved contract award for the final design for the downtown riverfront walkway project to Taylor Engineering of Jacksonville, Florida, in the amount of $92,833.36.
Staff, do you have anything? Okay, council, any questions of staff? Do we have any cards? Well, then do I have a motion? Okay, Member Robinson.
Question is,
Can I get you to turn your microphone on? Thank you.
about the walkway on the out the pier, and I'm still haven't, and I've read a lot of things. It's that what is it going to actually do other than connect the two peninsulas, so to speak? What else it is, and people will be out there to be able to see the launches. Have we got any numbers that indicates that what is the increase in value to move forward on this project?
One of our consultants suggested that walkability along the riverfront was a value added to our community, and suggested other areas as well as the downtown to provide walkability. As for numbers on rocket launches, they vary, and it depends on the time of launch. And, we had first man launch back, we estimated there's about 260,000 people in our city.
All right, that is, that's, for this kind of money and so forth, it's just, I know that this idea was started long before I came on the scene, and I still have some concerns. That's all.
Now, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the final design and award the contract to Taylor Engineering of Jacksonville, Florida, in the amount of $92,833.36.
And do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Member Robinson?
No.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Chairman Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Chair Nelson? Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Ball?
Yes.
Member Aker?
Yes. Passes, and I don't know the numbers, what this at now, 6-1?
6-1.
I don't know, I know the city count, one dissenting. City manager will move to new business.
On to item 8A, Utilities Infrastructure, BA. During the FY 2022 CRA budget discussion on April 13th, 2021, the CRA directed staff to transfer $48,870 of existing funds from concrete street projects to utility infrastructure to fund the needed repairs and improvements to the utility infrastructure in the CRA district. Additionally, we are getting a little bit of clarity, more clarity on the American Rescue Plan. So we will be putting some additional water and infrastructure funds towards that, which is going to probably affect the CRA as well.
All right. Member Robinson.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay, do I have anything from staff on this?
Just what the executive director said.
Okay. Do you have any questions of staff?
I did.
Member Aker.
Is this when we're redirecting funds, it says utility infrastructure, does that have to do with stormwater at all? Drainage?
No, it has to do with utilities, meaning water and sewer lines, and particularly it's going to be with sewer lines, because I think that's the biggest issue in the downtown right now, with the lines being, many of them started back in 1926. I was reading in our original redevelopment plan. And at that time, it said the plans, they weren't sure of the how capable the lines were at that time, and now we're another 37 years past that. So there's a need for utility infrastructure improvements in the downtown.
I just want to keep it on the forefront in the storm, and certainly this storm will have done it too. I've got some flooding that's occurring just south of Clayland Brewery. Just there's the stormwater drains tend to get clogged and backed up. Is there any maintenance that needs to be done on a more regular basis now that we're getting into the rainy season to make sure that we keep those clean?
My recollection of that area is one of the issues is that the new outfall that we have at Main Street and Indian River, and there are some maintenance issues there that we need to make sure that we clean out that grate that collects the garbage that gets into it so it doesn't go out into the lagoon. So that may be needed to be cleaned out more often.
Okay, Member Ball.
Just for clarity, I want to make sure I didn't lose my understanding of what we did with it. The $48,000 was specifically to support the relining of sewer line that is deteriorated and at high risk of failing, or at least is. So that's still the plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That would be sewer lines and manhole areas.
All right. Because we, as we discussed, there is a lot of risk and ongoing intrusion of stormwater into the sewer system in places along these old lines. So the relining of the sewer lines basically rejuvenates them, renews them. And even though, it's not like a park bench and we don't see the immediate amenity optics of that, it's critically necessary to the old infrastructure in downtown, as well as a contribution to the improvement of the lagoon. So I just wanted to be clear that that was what we had intended, and that's what was going to happen.
Yes, sir.
Member Jordan.
If we have public.
I don't believe I called cards on this one yet, did I? No.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. I see nobody else up here, so then I go, do we have any cards? Okay, now we have no cards. Member Jordan.
All right. I move that we approve CRA budget amendment transfer of $48,870 from Project CRA 1704, concrete streets, to Project CRA 2101, utility infrastructure.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Member Jordan,
Yes.
Chairman Diesel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nelson, Member Stokel,
Yes.
Member Ball,
Yes.
Member Aker,
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. City Manager, will you move to
On to
8B?
8B, which is the CRA FY 2020 carry forward. The city recently completed its comprehensive annual financial audit and indicated that there are $318,674 in carry forward funds from the FY 2020 budget to the FY 2021 budget. Per state statute, these funds need to be either returned to each taxing authority, used to reduce the amount of indebtedness deposited into an escrow account for the purposes of later reducing any indebtedness, or appropriate to specific redevelopment projects to be completed within 3 years. Staff recommends that these funds be appropriated to the following CRA projects. Project CR 1604, which is the trail town amenities, Julia Street parking, or Julia Street lighting and White Way lighting improvements. Those two will total $200,000. And to the utility infrastructure improvement, $118,600. And that's our recommendations. However, CRA can direct us to do other things with that money should you choose to.
Okay, anything else from staff?
No, sir.
Okay, Member Robinson?
I'm sorry.
No, no worries, no worries. So, and I think I've got this, but City Manager, can you define what the term carry forward funds means?
It's when we do our audit, you'll have money that was in 2020 that will carry forward into your next budget year.
So that's simply money that we didn't spend
That's correct.
last year. Okay, very good. So that's kind of a bonus. All right, very good. Any comments from council? Cards? All right, I have no comments from council. I have no cards. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve CRA budget amendment fiscal year 2020 carry forward funds.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Chairman.
And sir, before we hit that, sir, on your motion, do you agree with the appropriations that staff has recommended?
You want me to say that?
It'd be good for that to be in your motion.
You want me to say the amount too?
The amount's not
Okay.
necessary, but just so we
I think
have that.
it's bonus. It looks great.
Okay. Second holds. Did you add that?
Yes, I added that, yes.
Okay. I was listening. Okay, so with that, roll call vote.
Chairman Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nelson. Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Ball.
Yes.
Member Aker.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
And Member Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We move to 8C, Farmers Market.
On to item 8C. Staff is seeking advisability regarding the city working with the Greater Titusville Chamber of Commerce to recreate a farmers market in the downtown utilizing American Rescue Plan funding. The University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences would also assist in providing fresh food for citizens with a Titusville address at that farmers market.
I see nothing from staff. I've learned that look right now, so I see nothing from staff. I see, Member Jordan.
Yeah, I like the idea of us doing this again. I went down there a couple of times and I was amazed at the number of people that we were servicing. What I am perceiving though, because I've been part of delivering free food, free money to people, some family members tend to get double the amount that, which will cause others not to receive the funding. So I would ask that staff come up with some kind of criteria to ensure that more families can be serviced instead of having the opportunity for family members to separate and conquer the delivery of the service.
Well stated, Member Robinson.
Yes, again, I watched that, and I've been in the food distribution business for a number of years, and I know one of the major attractions to that particular process was the gift that they were receiving. And the first question I want to know is something like that is planted on that $50 that they received, is that going to be continued, or is it going to be something that we do and we do not have the turnout that we had when we did this during the COVID?
Yes, sir. Currently, the farmer's market is twice a month. It's currently existing. The attendance on it, as well as the participation from vendors, is quite low. So we would like to do a monetary incentive, like what was done previous to the county, and $50 is what we're recommending.
And that's good. And who is, whether $50 is they're planning on being, can you have any idea?
I'm sorry, sir?
If the $50 gift continues, where would that money come from?
From the American Rescue Plan?
It will. Okay. Thank you.
Member Stokel.
Thank you. When we did this before with the $50 per person, did we run out of funds? Was there a certain time on that Friday that we just had to cap off?
No, the money itself ran through, I think, December 13th.
Okay.
And it was county funded, and they had 3 locations within the county, 1 north, 1 central, and 1 south.
Okay. So we didn't have to turn anybody away?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm okay with continuing how we're doing it now. If we do hit a point where it becomes more popular or we have to turn people away, I kind of am with Member Jordan, maybe kind of looking at the process to maybe ensure that nobody's taking advantage when they shouldn't be.
Member Nelson.
I would agree with Member Stokel. And my question is, do we have a time frame for doing this? It's not ongoing forever.
We'll come back to you with that. What we're asking for is advisability if you want us
Okay.
to proceed forward to take a look at partnering with 2 agencies and then come up with a plan.
Okay. And the second thing I would ask is that you consider a cap so that if there's a household with 4 people in it, not something fair.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
the
what
goal
that
on
is.
what the county did is their goal was $50 per household, but as Member Jordan said,
Yeah,
that was not what actually
not what
happened.
happened. Okay.
Speaking of Member Jordan. Member Jordan.
That's me. I just want to make sure that we're clear in what I'm saying, because I think you said it better as far as having a cap, because I just don't want to see family members split up so they can get more in that one family. That to me is just not right. Even if there is monies left over, it does not qualify a family to get more than someone else. We just can continue the thing with the money we have. So that's my advisability. Let's just make sure we got a process that family members, if there's going to be a criteria of 4 more, whatever the number is, then we just stick to that.
I think the advisability is continue forward. We're very excited about the program and just do our best to make sure that it's fair and that people aren't double dipping, so to speak. With that said, do we need to make a motion on that?
Nope,
Is that
yeah,
solid?
I got your guidance. Thank
Do
you.
we need to call cards on that or no?
Uh.
No cards. Okay, good. All right. So we go past 8C. We move to 9, petitions and requests from the public. This is where you come up, give your name and address. Almost said your number. Don't need your number. Your name and address for the record, and say what you need to say. Hi, Lorley.
Lorley Thompson, 3550 Irwin Avenue, Mims. And I'm here to represent the Merritt Island Wildlife Association. You guys were so generous to give us a space at the Downtown Welcome Center. And we loved being there, and it looked really good. But it looks like we're going to be able to get the Welcome Center reopened out on the Wildlife Refuge. And so we did run into some challenges with staffing. Well, not staffing, volunteers. None of the volunteers wanted to work downtown. All the volunteers, the reason they volunteer is so they can be out on the Wildlife Refuge. And they want to be out on the Wildlife Refuge. And so Connie will be able to move her tent operation that's been out in the driveway for the last 3 months back inside in the air conditioning. That's the good news. I mean, we're really excited about being able to move back into the building. The bad news is the reason we're being able to move back into the building is because the construction has been moved back again. So we're probably, hopefully looking at maybe October now for the beginning of the construction. But I can't thank you enough. I mean, you guys, you were awesome. I can say that probably 75% of the people that walked in the door down there, they weren't looking for the wildlife refuge. They were looking for a bike shop.
Wow.
And they were so disappointed that the bike shop was gone. So my recommendation would be try to get a bike shop in there. See if you can get that guy down on Hopkins to come to the downtown. I don't know if he's in love with wherever he is down there, but people want a bike shop there. It would do well if it could get parks and bikes, but that's what they're looking for there.
Okay.
So once again, on behalf of the Wildlife Association and myself, thank you so much for your gracious hospitality.
Well, it's a thank you back to you too. And as much as I knew you were excited, and I knew your group was excited, but we were excited.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to have people get in a van or a bus, whatever we ended up with, and go out there and come back. I'd still like to see us look at that down the road, like you had mentioned. So for now, thank you for all you do, and thank you for being here today to speak to us about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Next up, petitions and requests. Yes.
Hi, thank you.
Hey,
I'm Julia with Breezeway Business
hold on one
Plans.
second. We need to start the clock. Thank you.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm Julia with Breezeway Business Plans, and the address is at 3206 South Hopkins in the Mail Center. I write business plans for companies, and the growth has been phenomenal. And I wanted to just reach out and thank you all for your kind support, and especially Mayor Diesel. After the last meeting, I had the pleasure of meeting with you. I followed your advice and started meeting with the various group offices here in the city of Titusville. Ms. Busaka, Community Development, Ms. Nicholas, Economic Development, Kristen Asbury, Special Events, and Mandy Lamoth, Business Tax Receipts. And the purpose of all those follow-up meetings, Mr. Mayor, was so that I could get more guidance, and we all educated and helped each other with clarity so that these new businesses wouldn't be frustrated when they come into an environment where they're trying to apply for licenses, business tax receipts, whatnot, and getting frustrated. Also, our Titusville Business Friends networking group that we had now has 35 businesses involved in it.
Wow.
Yes. And I would say unanimously that the businesses all have one, you talk about vision. These people sitting over here from the Wellspring, from Lay Engineer, from Olive View Tastings, and the other businesses, when we met last Thursday night, most of them say that they have a vision for Titusville, and that is, if you can walk 3 country miles to get to what you want to do in Cocoa Village, we can do it here in Titusville. And so that's what our goal is to have enough excitement in the business community to do whatever it takes. And these 35 businesses are on board, and they want to do whatever it takes to make that happen. I also wanted to say thank you for believing in us, and we will be a shining star in Titusville. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys. I really do. And I hope she got to tell you. I hope Julie got to tell you. But I tried to get to your meeting, and I got on the right street. I have no idea where you guys were. So I texted her, and I figured, okay, now she's probably talking. So I then called her to see if that would work. I sat in the First Methodist parking lot for about 20 minutes because I didn't want to get home and then have her call me and say, oh, well, we're here. So anyway, long story short, we will make that work, and I will get there, and I'll get out of the parking lot. Put a flag out front. We'll know where you're at. Okay, thank you very much. Next petitions or requests, Stan. Come on up. How you doing?
Good. I'm Stan Johnston. I think you know. I'm representing myself as a professional engineer and resident and so forth. I'm here to talk to you about what happened in the CRA area. That's the sewage spill. We got an article May the 10th. I'm not sure why Stauffer just left, because I was going to mention that he admitted the treatment in his expenses, admitted the treatment of 3.3 million gallons of sewage-laden water. It's not in there. It's not in there. Whoa, it's not in there. Now, this Thursday, what I did is I went to the National Day of Prayer, and there was met by, and I saw up there on the stage was our Mayor Diesel. My goodness, that was wonderful. And by golly, he was quoting Psalm 46 and so forth. From that same book, I quote to you, as it says, is that thou shalt not bear false witness. Now, I'm here to witness tonight to you that I have seen the spillage of the sewage in the city of Titusville. I've seen a spillage December, January, and February right into the river. And I've even got a photo of it right here, and you've seen it many times. This same photo. What it is doing is it's going right into the river, right here, right into the river. Going right into the river. Nice photo of it. And in other words, it shows it going into this culvert. This culvert leads to Spaceview Park, and it goes through that little pond there, which is just a detention pond that's always full because of baffle box. And then it goes to manhole number 8, where we tested it and says, hey, it's hot stuff. It's NTNC. Or NTNC. Too hot to count or something like that. I can't remember what it is. TNTC. So we've got all kinds of proof. FDOT report that was done after February the 5th when the FDOT came and they changed the report. So it all says is what Mr. Diesel's saying, what Mr. Larice is saying is not true. And I'm bearing witness to that because, well, that's the way it is. So it so happens is not only is it not true from the city of Titusville at Water Resources, but it's not true from the Florida Today and the Hometown News, although they've received all this same information. So what's going on is that I called a journalist up and he says, listen, if I tell the truth, I'll get fired. I'll lose my job. So I went ahead and I left a message on John Torres' Florida Today editorial, let him message and said, I'll give you $100 if you'll meet with me and I'll go over the truth of this stuff. I mean, for an hour. And then on yesterday, I left a message on the phone message on Mr. Weimer's one. I'd like another minute to tell you what I did.
Anybody want to extend time?
No, I don't think you want to hear about dishonesty, do you, Mr. Jordan? Certainly not.
Thank you, Stan. All right, city manager.
Yes, and our final item is item 10A, which is the executive director's report. There's no action required. It's an update of projects for you.
All right. Any other comments from the panel, council?
Well, let me ask something. Scott,
Uh-oh.
can you check on something for me? Okay. We were talking about the downtown area and the parking down there. My dad did the parking down there and changed it to the what layout it is now. I was under the impression that was a city project.
It's, the city funded it, but because it is a state-maintained road, that was
Okay.
their.
They
Yeah.
acquiesced to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, how did that happen? Okay, thanks.
All right. I see nothing else, so with that, we will reconvene at 6:30. Meeting adjourned.